Welcome to the Love Now Movement interview series hosted by Australian powerhouse spiritual teacher Susie Mazzoli. Together with a New York filmmaker Kevin Lewis, presents cutting-edge information in the field of consciousness, spirituality, science, and culture. We present in-depth interviews with the international movers and shakers, agents of change, and explore our rapid, expanded world. Come and join us on our Love Now across the world.
Your new book, The Star Children Today, just fresh off the press.
Yeah.
All about the special children that are being born recently in the last 5 years, 10 years?
Well, periodically over time there have been star children arriving, and there were significant periods that we could note. You know,
over the last 2,000 years,
well,
10,000
that's
years?
true, but let's say that we know of, for instance, in the 40s, there was an influx of star children. I was born in 1942, for instance, and and I was told as a child that from the beings, the elemental beings, that I was a star child, which I had no understanding of what that was.
Did you understand who the elemental beings
Oh,
were
yes.
when they came to you?
Oh, I've had a lot of experiences with the beings, with the star people, a lot of visitation, a lot of phenomenon. I guess you could say, I was born with what they call a caul, if you know what that is. It's sort of like the veil or the skin over the face, which in the old country signifies that you are a visionary. You will be a visionary. You have various gifts, the sight, they call it. And plus I grew up in a household where my grandmother and my aunts levitated tables to call in the spirits. So, you know, I had this type of childhood, and a lot of phenomenon in my life occurred. So it's sort of in the lineage, you know.
Can I just ask you, what did they, when you saw these elemental beings, what did they look like to you? Or feel like? What was their energy like?
Well, you know, if you have psychic abilities, which I know you do, that you sort of have the sense of what you're hearing, what you're experiencing is not your own mind, it's not your thought, that it comes with a different energy, it's a different feeling, a different sensation. And you learn very early on, you know, if you grow up this way, you learn very early on this, what that signifies. It could be telepathic, could be audio, could be visual, could be sensory, but it's completely unique. So the sense is that it's a different frequency, it's a message that comes in different ways. Sometimes it's a visual where you see like a movie in front of you.
And did you see them?
I did.
And what did they look like?
Well, they're very light beings. There's several different types of beings. You know, there's the level of the angelic beings, the light beings. I call them the light, the channels of light. I just learned to call them that, or the star beings. There's different elemental beings, which are perhaps a spirit of an animal or a tree. So there's a lot of different levels of communication in that way. So, but it was always a knowing that this was a source from the light. And that's something people have to learn to discern if you don't have that ability.
And they came to you and they said that you were a star child, meaning that you came from the celestials, from some other place to Earth?
They told me that, and they told me that there were, over time I would meet many like myself, which I have. So then you look at, well, why was there an influx of star children during that period of time? Well, there was a lot of signs around during the World War II because of the bomb and the bomb that we dropped. It exploded in a great force, as you know, and alerted the celestial communities of something's going on this.
These guys are up to no
Something's
good.
going on here because we are in connection through that web, through all the, you know, the celestial, the cosmic realm. It's not, we're not separate, we're in relationship with. So that's something that we'll talk about that divine web. So persons like myself, so I'm a grandmother, and I have star children. Some of my grandchildren are star children.
Mm-hmm.
So there may very well be people today who are grandmothers of star children. It can skip generations and reappear, throughout your lineage.
And when you say star children, they can be coming from any number of locations in the infinite galaxy, or is it particular stars that you can identify where they're coming from?
Well,
locations?
I was told at some point that my origins were the Pleiades.
Mm-hmm. The Seven Sisters.
That's correct. And there are others I know who've spoken about different origins. Now, when I met some of the Lakota people, the elders, one of the elders was just out of the blue started talking about the star people. His many times being taken up on the ships, and that they were originally from the Pleiades.
A lot of Native American people are from the Pleiades, is that right?
It appears so.
Yeah.
But there's the Dogon,
Which is
the dog star, Sirius.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so...
From Africa.
Mm-hmm. So it seems to be, a system of that differs depending.
Mm-hmm. And in your book, The Star Children Today, the children that you're talking about, are they from one particular place, or is it also from different places in the galaxy?
I think it's from different places in the galaxy. That is, to me, that's sort of the most significant piece about this, is to help people understand what a star child is. If you have... if you suspect, or if you don't understand your child, there's certain things that signify star children. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole questionnaire here, mm-hmm. quite a lot of questions that helps to signify, identify perhaps yourself or your child.
Mm-hmm. Can you go through some of the main points for us?
Sure, I will read some of them.
I will tick off.
I'll read some of them because, well, one thing that I mentioned to you also is that even now, today, in this time where we are, the Western doctors of, typical pediatricians, mm-hmm. are becoming quite alarmed or noticing these children. These children are highly advanced, well developed beyond what your typical...
Intellectually.
Yeah, and in all manner of ways.
Emotional maturity.
Yes, their development is beyond the typical, what is expected,
Even when they're
typical.
being born, no? They're
Well, they're completely alert.
Yeah, bright-eyed,
I mean, you
bushy-tailed.
can remember years ago when an infant was born, they were like, for quite a while, they were like sort of in a daze and unfocused. And these children are highly alert.
They come out.
They come, and they are very alert, and they engage you.
Yeah.
And then when they can start, and they're speaking very early, when they start, the wisdom that comes out of them is shocking. Mm-hmm. It's eyebrow raising, so. Mm-hmm. And they are, they come in with psychic gifts. They are visionaries. And many of them are here as to become light workers, mm-hmm. teachers, visionaries. And so they come in with this great knowledge, this great wisdom. They are holding that, as many children do. I want to just make sure people understand that all children are special. And it doesn't make them less if they're not a star child, but everyone has purpose. Everyone comes here upon the earth with a purpose. And mm-hmm. I call it the original agreement. Mm-hmm. But star children are significantly here for where we are at this time in our transition. What's really going on at this time on the earth.
Right, and they're actually holding a really high frequency, so just being in their presence also is, I mean, they're changing
you
the
feel
frequency
it.
of Earth,
People are drawn to them. They're compelling. One of the things is they talk about the eyes of the star children, they are compelling. Mm. And so the one important piece to understand what's happening is to the star children in our society, the education system. Mm. And the system of, the typical system of the rules and regulations of bringing up a child.
Right. The constriction system.
Which we are all subjected to.
Yeah.
And what's behind that. And how it is important for people, for parents, grandparents, to understand this piece, because their child can get lost and fall through the cracks. Mm-hmm. And they may lose their knowledge, the purpose. Right. In other words, that could happen.
Yeah.
So These are character traits.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these may, connect with you right away.
So this is for literally for anyone listening. It can be you, it can be your children, your grandchildren. This is not designated to any particular year. It can be to all of us.
It's not.
Okay.
But there are periods of time through our history when there was an influx of star children.
When mankind was messing up a bit too much.
Well, when things were necessary for them really to grow into the future, into taking positions that was very much needed. And this is certainly where we are now, because of the earth changes, because of the transition, the new paradigm that we are moving into. This high frequency, this wisdom and knowledge needs to really be strong.
Right.
So we can say, well, everything is breaking up and shattering. We see that. And in my understanding, everything is breaking up and shattering, but everything was originally created by the dominator patriarchy rule. There was nothing about the sacred feminine within that, which has been really, as you know, historically pretty much crushed. And so we're looking for the balance. So everything has to fall apart before it can be renewed and come into a different frequency. And that's where the star children come in, to take that position, to bring
I've got my pencil. I'm ready to check off those boxes.
Well, one thing is some of these are this is the query of what signifies. Star child may either possess all or only a certain percentage of these anomalies. So this is a pattern profile. I'll give you some of these. And it's interesting because many of the star children have these qualities. Not all of them, as I said, but for instance, extra appendage, transitional lumbar sacral vertebrae, or bone fusion. This is an interesting kind of quality. An unusual blood type, for instance, Rh negative type is one.
Which is known as alien blood in many of the...
Right. And unusually low blood pressure, they may have experience in that. They're hypersensitive to smell, pain, touch, light, taste, and emotion. So you could, for instance, say, are you a clairsentient, meaning that you feel others' pain in your body. That's how you can signify someone's illness or a block in their body. You may see light or color forms when closing your eyes, or you see auras. You have the ability to see auras. You're sensitive to energies and frequencies of animals and communicate with them, perhaps. You have that ability. Music or celestial sounds. You may hear these, but there's no viable resource of this. There's no known source, but you may have this capacity where you hear suddenly in the room like this celestial sound. I've had this happen to me, where you could be in a remote place and suddenly this angelic sound comes and you're looking around for the source, and that's, so a tingling or increased spikes of energy. For instance, your hands may heat up. You may feel different sensations in your body when you're near persons who are ill, for instance, or out in nature in certain areas where there's a high frequency there, or elements or spirits, seeking to connect with you. There's a heightened awareness, a physicality where you have that ability. Your ears may ring or buzz at different times. Suddenly this high-pitched, like the vessels, right? This high-pitched frequency will come. Those are often signals of communication or to be alert. And you can find out what is this meaning by utilizing different tools of going within or concentrating in communication.
You mean the star people are actually contacting us when we hear those sounds?
Right.
Yeah.
It's a form of communication. It's also a form of shifting your frequency, and they're constantly working with us on those different levels. Okay. So a lot of you might recall this experience when you were a child. You may have thought, these can't be my parents. These can't be my real family. He's laughing. This can't be my real family. And you had this tremendous longing for your real family to show up and rescue you.
You know, actually, I have to say, I felt very much like my parents were my parents. But I remember one day when I was probably like my daughter's age, like 9 or 10, and we were washing the dishes together, and it was the night sky. I grew up in Australia, so we actually had different stars, right? We had the Southern Hemisphere. Now, I remember asking my mother, because my family's from Hungary, and they were kind of a little bit, I don't know, mysterious about our background. You know, it was communism, they left the country, la la la. And I asked Mum, you know, where do you really come from? Not really understanding then really what the story was. And I remember her pointing up to the stars and saying, darling, I come from there, as do you. We come from the stars. And I remember thinking, my mother is completely crazy. Really crazy.
Well,
but I understand now, maybe she was right.
Yes. So sharing that piece, I can remember as a child I felt that. These can't be my family. But I remember spending a lot of time outside just looking up. And this is also an experience that a lot of star children have, just looking up and saying, I just want to go home. I just want to go home.
That homesickness.
That homesickness. And a longing for something, searching for something, this longing.
Does that also couple with the idea that what happens here in this plane, on this earth, this 3D plane, is too brutal for them? That sensitivity to, this can't be my home because it's too brutal?
Well, I think that's very true.
Yeah.
Because a lot of star children, specifically, come into a family that is a big challenge, you know. And we don't have to go into the karmic thing, but this is based on a lot of this also. To come here to experience certain things. As you know, we all do that, right? Not just the star children. But because you have more, let's say you have more of the remembering of your true origins when you're small. And when you come here, it's not what you had expected.
Right, it's very different to...
It could be quite shocking.
The compassionate way of treating people.
That's right. Now, I certainly love the Mother Earth. You know, I've come to understand I'm here for the reasons and purpose, and I understand why I came, you know. And so that's just, the unseen friends, or the friends, the secret friends that you had as a child, or the ability for nature to be your place where you were nurtured. You know, that nature was really significant to you. So there's a huge list here of that type of information. But I just want to give this other points here, the character traits. So, for instance, a star child may know your intentions before you even know them.
They can read your mind.
They surely
Absolutely.
can. And also they are capable of reading your energy fields and auras. They are often the petty tyrants, meaning they're great teachers. We call them petty tyrants because they'll push your buttons. Because they're here to help people, to move, to awaken. And they are put in this position a lot. You know, so you can't get away very much with these children. So they are unusually sensitive to electricity and electromagnetic fields, which we're being inundated with. And that's one of the things that is particularly difficult for star children. And one of the things that I talk about in this book is what is happening to the star children around these sort of electromagnetic waves and these frequencies that they are being subjected to the technologies that they are being subjected to, as far as the video games, the TV, the rapid patterning of these systems are affecting the function of the brain, of all children, but specifically star children. And you could say that it's on a level of near brainwashing, because the brain begins to function on this high input, so it activates an addiction. Okay, so then you have a child.
It also dulls their abilities, dulls their pineal gland activity.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's shutting them down.
Yeah. And so then...
Without going into any conspiracy theory, of course.
No, we don't want to go into conspiracy theories.
But it would be shutting them down.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yes.
But so then what happens to this child who has this constant input? Well, they are constantly receiving, first of all, because they are receivers of energy, telepathic communication, and different frequencies. Then on top of that, you have this technology frequency. And then you ask them to go to school and sit still and focus, which is really nearly impossible for these children who are being subjected to this constant input, rapid, where the brain says, give me more. It's an addiction, right? It's a high, really, for the brain. So now then you have the movement now into subduing these children, which is drugging these children. And that's something that's really become more...
The pharmaceuticals.
The pharmaceuticals, because the children need to comply. They need to be still. They need to focus. And it's very difficult for children, normal children, to have this when they're constantly being inundated with this frequencies and high energies and rapid input, So then you have ADD and ADHD that suddenly has appeared, right?
Very
It seems very sudden.
rampant, yeah.
But there's a lot of studies about this, about the drugging of the children because of this. Especially star children are really being subjected to this. And it's impossible for them because they are constantly receiving, and their perceptions are quite unique. They have a different perspective of things. They see differently, because they're receiving different kinds of information. And so your perspectives are very different, and it doesn't follow the typical normal ideas of society. So it's a little bit, different perspective,
because
unique.
Their perspective is multidimensional too.
That's
Isn't
correct.
a lot
That's
of star
correct.
children have a lot of memories too, forwards and backwards.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So they have that. They learn differently, They don't fit well in the system. The education system is so rigid and basically based on sort of like the corporate ideology. This is where things are going.
Yeah.
And the star children are very aligned with nature, and they understand what's happening. This information comes to them from the star beings because they're often taken what is called to a secret school. When you're a child, you often have these experiences where you are traveling out of body. You have visitations. Some people are calling these abductions, and some of them, you could say they're abductions. But in the non-indigenous cultures, this is a terrifying experience, where when some being enters your room and you start to move out of your body, out the window, through the walls, it's quite terrifying if you don't understand, if you haven't had these types of experiences. In indigenous cultures, this is a very common experience.
It's a sacred experience.
It's a sacred experience because these are our relatives. These are relations. These aren't terrifying alien, beings that are going to, eat you up and destroy you. But this is where the system basically puts, people into this fear. And that's why magic and phenomenon is so terrifying to people.
Which is the subtitle of your book.
Yes, that's right.
Many of the people that I've spoken to doing the research for our series, we found that children and adults have been taken to two different schools, or let's call them galactic schools. One is teaching integrity. They use this word integrity. I've also heard they use morals, but it's like the school of integrity, almost teaching the people of Earth, this is how we need to behave. This is how we need to behave also to stay alive, to
That's
behave.
correct, yeah.
And then the other school is the tech school where they learn what is explained to me as quantum physics.
Right.
Have you had that experience yourself?
Right.
Or
Yes, I mean, I have had certainly that experience. It is the information that is needed to basically bring your message here, to be that vessel for that message, for the good of the whole. So, and then of course a lot of the star children, due to these experiences, or they are born with these gifts, but they are advanced, they become advanced in that telepathic, extrasensory, gifts that are very important.
in your book, for adults and for children, do you give advice on how we should be parenting these children?
A lot of advice. Yes, there's a lot of advice on
or
how
if
to...
we are star children
Or if you are
ourselves,
star children, yeah.
how we can
That's right.
develop our abilities or function in society?
Yes. I mean, this book is really helpful to people who may not be a star child or may not have a star child in their family, because this book covers very important information about people in general, about what's going on, and also how to develop their own psychic gifts, how to really see without looking, for instance, how to develop their own natural gifts, and to learn how to be in relationship with with nature, which is really so essential for us, and also to develop and fulfill their own original agreements, their original promise, which, for instance, we could talk about how that relates to love, because I know we're talking about that piece
The Love
too.
Now, the Love Now
The
movement.
Love Now, and how this is, what this really is to me is it the sacred child. Okay, so anyone, this book can help them to understand who they are, what they're doing here. What does it all mean? And what purpose do I have? Why am I here? And what's going on? So this book talks a lot about that. It talks about the sacred sites on the earth. It talks about the matrix point, the divine matrix, the ley lines, the sacred web. All of this we are connected to. Every human being is connected to these pieces, not just the star children. So this is really a book that can really help shed light on a lot of the mysteries, the magic and the phenomenon. So, UFO sightings, for instance, all over the world from the beginning of time.
And all sorts of different UFOs.
All sorts of different
All
UFOs.
sorts of different
Exactly.
ones,
And beings, visitors from other realms, from dimensional realms, from star people, all types of beings. It has been noted throughout history. So, but, and again, specifically in indigenous cultures, this is a phenomenon that is very real. It's not a myth. When they speak about their experiences, these are their truths. These are not stories and they're not myths. They're based on facts.
And also, like the Dogon, that's their origin. They speak
It's
of it
their
as
origin,
their origin.
but it is also our origin. And that's what the star children are here to help us understand, our true origins.
Do you think it's because we, as a human race, and I speak of us as a human species now, that we are in this major evolution or transition, that we are going to another dimension, or we're shifting, definitely, like our DNA is shifting, and I believe that a lot of the children today also do have a different DNA.
Yeah.
Do you think that this influx of star children is happening now because we are about to, like the information I'm receiving from the master teachers is that we're now opening up the quarantine of Earth, and we're actually going to come into very obvious physical contact with our star brothers and sisters, that it won't just be, a part of the population that has experience, but all people of Earth will know that we are a part of a thriving galaxy, infinite galaxy.
Well, this I believe is that time that we have spoken about for however long, the time of Enlightenment. To become enlightened, right? To raise our frequency to that light, to that divine frequency, that enlightenment. And that's what a lot of this is about, because if we don't come to that, we're screwing up everything in here on the planet. We know that. And our frequency, our coming into that enlightened knowledge, wisdom, and coming back to that full circle. This to me is the circle, the sacred circle. This is nothing new. Okay. What is new is the level of destruction that we have created on this planet. We're bringing the Mother Earth to a brink that has never before in humans' experience. Anyway,
that we know of.
That we know of, and that we have participated in, because we hadn't had the technology, that in our knowledge, in our time of knowing.
Was Atlantis not a time of that great brink as well, or not?
Well, I believe that it was. That's why I say this is like a cycle.
Yeah.
We are experiencing the continuing incarnating into various times of where we rise a bit. It's sort of like incrementally we rise up, we create, we come into that frequency, and then something goes awry, And then there we could fall back down into that other frequency. We come back into the school. This is the great school. You know, it's sort of like we're on this continual sacred wheel, you know, this medicine wheel, continually coming back to get certain things right, to fulfill certain things, to achieve certain things, to make things balance and harmony again, you know, personally and collectively, right?
To have experience.
To have experience and to fulfill certain things.
But don't you think now too that this new part of our trajectory is to have the experience of being in real contact with our star brothers and sisters?
I do. I certainly do. We have to, because of what's happening all around us, because of the earth changes. You know, the earth changes are not just about the earth. It's about us. We are changing too.
Yes.
In alignment and synchronicity with the mother's change, with the atmosphere, everything around us, because we are part of and one with. We're not separate. So when you see the changes and the shifts and the accelerations and the, you know, the atmospheric changes, the earth changes, everything is going on, we're a part of that too. So
whether that's manipulated or natural?
It's a part and part, yeah. So we have to, you know, move into that. We are being asked to. We agreed to do that. Some of us have forgotten our agreement. Some of us may have come specifically to not follow into that. I mean, that's something we have to realize. If we're talking about a divine plan, you know, I believe that there is a divine plan, but I also believe that humans were given choice.
Free will.
Free will. And we can come here and we can determine certain things for the good of the soul, personal soul that embodies us, you know, and also the collective agreement, you know. But the piece about the love, I guess I want to say this piece about the troubles of people and the despair around love, you know. To me, love is a four-letter word, L-O-V-E. It's just a simple word, but we have so much banking on this 4 letters of this word. And it's almost like if you sort of manipulate the word love and add, you know, an extra E and maybe, you know, a V, you have evolve. If you know, turn it around. Evolve. So, but love, I believe, is understood, or there is an attempt, I guess, for us to understand what love is, but we don't really fully understand what love is. We think we understand what love is, and we think we want love in a certain way, but this is not the love that we should really be understanding this piece, because we are loved.
We are loved.
We are loved unconditionally. If you just look around at this miraculous Mother Earth, the beauty of the earth, and humans, how beautiful humans are. And you have to think, well, this divine being, this intelligent being, you want to call it, say God, creator, had to have created all of this out of love. Love of color, love of design, love of all possibilities. And if you just look around and you know, if you see a little baby, you say, this is a miracle. We are a miracle. The mere fact that we are who we are as humans is a miracle. So this ultimate source of that is from unconditional love. But people are looking for love in all the wrong places. You know that song. We're looking for love in all the wrong places. And I think this is a key piece. People are striving to find their one true love. To
romantic
me,
love.
That's correct. To me, the one true love is the Creator and our own self, the divine self within, the sacred one. And when you find that peace within yourself, then you actually can share love and be in love unconditionally with others, in a romantic love, let's say.
So know love within yourself. And then you can be love in all directions.
And the way you know love within yourself is identifying yourself with the Creator who loves you unconditionally. To recognizing yourself as that sacred child.
As a part of?
Exactly. A particle, a thought, a dream, a vision of that divine Creator. So star particles that were seated here upon this earth. throughout time. So, you know, I think that people are lost with this love piece. You know, I think they really don't believe that they're lovable. You know, a lot of people don't believe they're lovable, that they deserve love. And a lot of that stems from early childhood and their experiences, perhaps, of not being cherished. So it's sort of a journey. You know, we're all on that journey here to find that key piece, which is the sacred self, the love of the Creator who created us. And then the stone, we remove it from our heart, where then we can fully be loving.
What is it that we can do as individuals? What is it that we can do as communities, as groups, to raise our frequency, to raise the frequency of our community, to raise the frequency, to work in union with Mother Earth? I know you've been working for many, many years with Indigenous peoples all over the world, especially the Kogi, and I know that you've shared a lot of sacred practice, and what is it that you can share with us?
Well, I think what's important is to understand why we would want to do that. What is the significance of our frequency? And what will that make a difference? How does it make a difference? So we talk about the impact that we have upon the earth, upon all the environment, as well as each other. Like our frequencies are, and we are energetic beings. We have a frequency. It's either a low frequency because we're sad or depressed or angry, or medium, or a high frequency because we feel joy, or we're in love, you know, or we're grateful. We have just gratitude, you know. That's a high frequency. And so when you experience that within yourself, everyone around you also experiences that frequency. The plants in your home and around you experience that frequency. Now we have to work at our frequency as humans, whereas nature holds a frequency, a continual frequency, according to its original instructions. You know, nature, all of nature is in harmony and balance. It sustains a frequency, whereas we as humans, you know, we have choice, as we talked about, you know, free will. We have a lot of issues that we're dealing with, especially now. The pressures that we're all dealing with, the worries, the concerns, and that lowers our frequency. It overtakes us. And those depressions, the depression, the fear, the jealousy, anger, all of that is a frequency that then, as we are that point, the central point of this great web or sacred hoop, as a central point, which we all are, but then we're connected, that frequency moves out of us and affects the environment. The divine matrix, for instance, was created to emanate or mirror the environment. So that's amazing if you understand what that means, the power that we have to affect the environment. So if the environment has a high frequency, because we're all working to raise our frequency because we love the Mother Earth so much, we're so grateful, we love the creatures, the birds, our children, all animals, that gives us a different frequency. The mother, the divine matrix, will mirror that frequency. So that frequency is like connected. Like draws like, as you know.
And we can also mirror the frequency of Earth, though, no? So is it equally a two-way?
We do feel the frequencies, like maybe some people you may have heard feel a great sorrow, especially women are really connected to the earth, and we can feel a sorrow emanating from that earth. You know, it's an experience that many people have, and or sensing a forest, for instance, that is being destroyed. There's a frequency of sorrow and grief emanating from that, from the living beings. This is very real. And a lot of times people say, oh, I'm feeling something. I feel something strange, but I don't know what it is. Oftentimes you're picking up a frequency from something.
From nature.
Yeah.
So what is it that we can do to really increase the frequency of Earth so that all beings are free of suffering?
Well, I think we have to take an active part for sure, singularly or collectively. The mass collectiveness is really important too. But you have to understand that other people are doing this as well, so you're not alone. So I think gratitude, appreciation, and really recognizing yourself as really truly loved unconditionally by the Creator, appreciating yourself, your gifts, loving yourself raises your frequency. Singing, toning, drumming, you know, people might think that's maybe some wacky stuff, but it's very true. Playing an instrument certainly is a form of, you know, raising your frequency. Dance, right? Going out to nature. Nature is the healer. That's where we receive beautiful, beautiful love from the nature, that frequency. The appreciation of nature when we pay attention to nature, just like our plants. You know, if you take care of the plant, you talk to the plant, you feed the plant, it's been known now that that frequency of that plant is elevated. If you think, oh, I'm going to kill this plant, I'm going to cut this plant, I'm going to hurt this plant, you know I don't mean it. But that frequency, that plant will start to vibrate in a different frequency.
Yes, they're making sounds, yeah.
Yeah. So we have the capacity to make a huge difference, you know, and our hearts, filling our heart with love and gratitude is one way of raising the frequency.
So there are many, many, many people throughout Earth that are now working on raising the frequency. There's many spiritual groups, environmental groups, a lot of people are coming together, and there really is a huge shift. The master teachers have explained to me that up on the higher dimensions where they work from or where they see it from, which of course includes our Palladian brothers and sisters from the Galactic Council, the Federation of Light, they say that the tipping point has been reached, that we are now already on what we would call that enlightened, blissful side. And because many people speak about good and bad and this dualistic understanding, but we're actually already in that enlightened state. And what's happening now is it's just literally trickling down. The trickle-down effect is there. So for me, when I heard that, it was of course a great relief. But it was also a sign to me that everything that we're doing has such a powerful effect that even if one person sits for 5 minutes, 20 minutes each day in deep meditation, deepening into divine heart, that it actually changes the frequency of the planet. And I remember last year we had our wonderful symposium, our retreat, the Compassionate Earth Retreat, with where Edith Zavala Lopez joined us as well from Peru. And you taught us a very beautiful meditation with the sound. That was you said it was the sound of the mother.
Her sacred sound, how she soothes herself.
Would you do that again for us and for our listeners, so people can learn about this, and then it's something that we can all practice, whether we're in an apartment in the middle of a busy city or in nature.
Right.
Okay.
So everything has its sacred sound. Creation was formed that way. And the mother has her sacred sound. It's the sound of M. There's one beautiful thing that babies have this sacred sound as well. They replicate that sound of the mother. They'll sing to themselves. They'll sing themselves to sleep. When they're nursing, they make that sound too. So what this is that's aligning ourselves with the frequency, with the intention that we will align ourselves because we love the Mother Earth so much, that we want to soothe her too. We want to nurture her as well. So our frequency of that sacred sound of M, we tone and tune ourselves with it. And when we do that, we also receive this healing as well, because we are one with the Mother. We could say, well, the Mother is the waters. We are water, as we know, 70% some of water. So all of these frequencies and these sounds, these sacred sounds of toning, chanting, raises and changes the molecular structures, okay, especially of water. So you know what you would do is you just basically take some breaths through your nose and you relax. With each exhalation, you let everything drift downwards and soften and let go and release. So we take that sound and move it up the scale and down. And when we complete, I ask people to equalize the energy within them with the energy outside, to balance the energy, because we get filled with this really powerful energy, this frequency. So we just...
With the out-breath.
Give a little, share a little that way to the universe, so that you're equalizing the interior frequency with the outer frequency. So oftentimes it builds up so strongly within us. So, and it just creates that harmonized balance in that way. So.
It has reminded me immediately of the time when you invited me to play the Peruvian whistles, and that was such an honor. Thank you so much. I had the experience with that ceremony of being literally transported through dimensions and transported through time, and connected to something I've never experienced before that I'm aware of. The Peruvian vessels that you play, they're several hundred years old. Yes.
Yeah.
And what was the intention of the ceremony? What are we connecting
what I
with?
received from as far the guidance that I received about these vessels was that their return at this particular time on Earth is very significant, because they were communicators to the star people, and they were also transporting us to different realms. When you play those vessels, when you're involved in that power, that energy, that raising of the frequency, it transports us into the upper realms, to parallel realms, because we're interdimensional beings, so we need to learn how to do that again. We need to learn how to use that tool, our original essence and abilities, capabilities. So they're communicators not only to the Earth, the frequency of the Earth, they communicate to the star people, they're calling the star people back in. A lot of times people have visions of the star people appearing in the circle. You are also, as you say, entering into other realms. Different communicators will come through, different beings and elementals. So it's working on our interior memory, the sacred memories that we carry, the wisdom, and they also function to heal illnesses. They're waking us up, our remembering the wisdom and knowledge, those connecting the pieces. They're shifting the DNA as well. This is another part of this transitional into this new frequency that we are moving into, that we are in the process of moving into and have been achieving on over these periods of time. So the vessels have many significant tools, the reasons for their being here, to activate various things for humans.
Could you actually speak a little bit about the Divine Matrix and how we have, of course, all of these huge sites, the pyramids, etc., on a lot of these very special vortex places on the Divine Matrix?
I think this is very important knowledge, a missing piece in our understanding the ancestors and the star people, and how they really gave that information, this power and ability to use frequency to levitate monolithic stones, and placement and the positioning of them on the ley lines, the matrix. Why were they all placed on the matrix, on the ley lines, all around the whole of the Earth? And that the answer basically came to me was that it's about frequency. So if we understand that everything is about frequency, energy, and that the Earth herself is maintaining or hoping to maintain a certain frequency for her life force, it's the chi that moves through the ley lines, the energy, just like it does with our own body. If you look at acupuncture, for instance, that when the chi is blocked, when a matrix point is blocked in our body, we become ill. Our energy level, our frequency goes down. We become very weak and ill. So they have to be regenerated. That's what the needle then is put in the matrix point. Well, on the Earth, it's called a telluric point. A telluric point on the Earth means it's the highest point of frequency in that particular spot on the Earth. And that's where a lot of the sites, the sacred sites, there's natural sacred sites, of course, but the monolithic structures that were placed on these points are telluric points. Notre Dame, for instance, the church in Europe is basically placed upon one of the highest frequency points and an ancient site to the Holy Mother. Long before the Druidic cultures, that site was known. So that was a telluric point. So then you have telluric points all over the earth on these ley lines on that sacred web.
And the monuments are amplifying, you're saying, that energy?
When you put the monuments, when you put these particular monolithic stones that are basically quantify certain frequencies, as well as what they're made up of, crystalline and various elements that these stones are made up, when you utilize them in a certain way, with with sound, with different elements, you're raising the vibration and the frequency of that point. That then leads to an opening to the following telluric point and the next site. So you're opening up the channels of the sacred web, the divine matrix, and her energy and her flow and her health and well-being is functioning.
So because it's a telluric point, many people have also said that those vortex points are also literally stargates or wormholes.
That's true.
That they're places where we have interdimensional or simply galactic openings.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm. Do you think also that, I've also had the theory from some of the ufologists that those sacred sites, the monuments, are also literally like gas stations, like starships can come down and literally take energy through those points from Earth as well?
Well, I think that that's very possible, yes. But I also think that the most significant part of them is to really hold and energize the Earth, the frequency of the Earth, to harmonize it and balance it. Because if you don't have any longer people going to those sites and working the frequencies with that ancient knowledge and building that energy, harmonizing and balancing the whole, then we have our star brothers coming down, and you don't have that frequency in those sacred sites. You don't have that availability. And I think that that's why a lot of the connection to the star people and working here with certain people to awaken them to understand the significance of the Earth in relation to the whole of the cosmic realm. So it's not just a separate planet here. It's in relation to all the other homes, you could say.
Do you think that's why now there are many, many new sites being found? The master teachers have said
I do.
Since the 15 years now that I've been channeling,
I do.
That there's going to be many, many, many places
that's
being found.
Right.
Yeah.
Our Hudson Valley here is filled with monuments, monumental stone formations that would really
from ancient times.
From ancient times.
Pre what we would consider human or human.
I think that they are very, very well could be. I think they're very, very ancient beyond what the scientists and archaeologists can really go.
And then we have all the pyramids popping up in Bulgaria and Romania and China.
Under the ocean. So it's like all of the awakening.
Sarajevo.
Yeah, it's sort of like this is a very important knowledge for people to understand what was going on all in time immemorial, centuries and centuries and centuries ago, with cultures that were supposed to be primitive, ignorant, stone-wielding people. And yet, it's going back further. Look at Göbekli Tepe. That culture is the earliest, and I think they're going to find even more.
Yes, earlier.
And though that tells us that there was a great intelligence present. You know, they were given that, they were here, they left. When I was a child, I was told who built those monuments were the star people. They came here, they seeded different culture here, and then they left. And they're still coming back and forth. But they brought that knowledge and that ability.
Were you ever told why they seeded and why they left? Why the actual connection was left so mysterious?
Well, let me just give you a little message here when the Lakota elder said to me, in one of the systems up there in the Pleiades, they had to leave to come here because of the destruction that they had created up there in certain civilizations in certain periods of time.
In the Pleiades?
That's correct. And so then they made their way here. Their oral history speaks of them coming from the Pleiades to this planet, Earth, And then it continues with the next movement off here to another system. And then they're...
Where are we going to next? What's the next stop? Are we there yet?
You know, I don't think we're there yet.
No.
I think it's kind of, I think there's different, I feel, you know, there's different possibilities, because I questioned, okay, we're entering the fifth hoop, 1,000 years of peace. Well, where will we be? We can remain here on this beautiful Mother Earth, but we will be functioning in a higher frequency.
Right.
This is what many of us will be doing, and we are doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are those that will be moving through a parallel realm into another dimension,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in the process, in that dimension.
So just like there is now on Earth, there are different levels
Mm-hmm.
of I had a very powerful experience when I took a group to Machu Picchu last year, and we were doing a meditation on Huayna Picchu, and as we looked down, we created a very large Merkaba around Machu Picchu, and there's very clearly a civilization underneath Machu Picchu, as in another realm. There was a civilization of people that were rainbow people that were there in Machu Picchu as we know it. They're just in the next dimension. And then there was another very, very elaborate crystalline group of people living above Machu Picchu, and it was the first time that I actually really saw how all of these dimensions are actually all in one place.
All in one place. That's
all
right.
in one time, really, for me to see it. But it was very clear. So do you feel that we might be lifting up to that higher level of existence, but still be as part of Earth?
Yes.
And
I
some
do.
will also go to another
That's
location.
Right. And the dimensions are more accessible to us now. And we will be experiencing, this was basically a message and a prophecy that came to me many years ago, that we will be seeing and hearing various sounds, animals will be appearing, and certain elementals will be appearing that we've never seen before.
Now, haven't you had the experience here?
I have.
Yes. Could you tell that story briefly?
Well,
that was so much fun.
I joke about it, but I'm not the only one now. Yes, it was a few years ago. I was out on the upstairs screen porch probably around midnight or so.
And we can just say that we're in the Hudson Valley.
We're in the Hudson
north
Valley.
of New York City.
Well, the UFO, capital of the world, where we are, right? And so I heard this, to use the expression god-awful sound. I don't know what that really means, but just I think people could identify with it, because it was horrific sound that I've never heard before. I grew up here, so I'm very familiar with night sounds. I'm familiar with bobcats and owls getting animals. I'm familiar with all these types. This was a screech, a sound, a scream that just, shocked me, and I'm listening, and in my mind, I'm following this. It's pitch black out, but I'm following it across, because it's making the sound. It's going across from one very remote area over here, 50-some acres of wild area, into this other area. And it's making this sound as it flies quite rapidly, and it's up high, but not up high, but it's up high, about the top of tree level here. And then it was gone, and my mind is clicking through all of its knowledge, all of its files.
Right, what could this be?
What is it? Is it this? Is it that? Is it, and everything. And so then I heard, it's a pterodactyl. And I was like, really? It's really a pterodactyl? And in fact, it was so otherworldly, And of course, I had been getting the message that the parallel realms are opening, and these beings are coming in and out, and we will periodically be having these experiences. That's where the Bigfoot goes. He goes in and out of the parallel realms. That's why people can't find him. He'll appear and then he moves back in. They move back in. The little people do the same thing, And the elders also said this, that we will be experiencing, beings and elementals moving in and out of the dimensions because of our own frequency shifting. Because of what's really happening.
Now, is the dinosaur thing, is that literally a time shift where you're experiencing the time here as it was a long time ago, or is it literally a parallel reality that's bleeding into this?
It's a parallel reality that's bleeding in, and I've had that happen to me throughout my life.
Do we have Bigfoot around here in this area? In the Catskills?
We have something around here that I've heard in the forest, you know. But I don't think there have been any sightings, particularly like you find in Alaska and, you know, the greater forests, you know, where they really are more inhabited.
But there are more and more
They're
sightings.
all over the world.
Yeah.
The
There are
Japanese are searching for them. They're the you know, the Yeti and the SETI and they're all over the world. And when I was out on the reservation in Greengrass, the young children were just talking to me. We were playing by the water, and out of the blue, they said, "We saw Bigfoot." And Bigfoot was here. We saw him go across the plains with several of them together, and we ran and got our parents, and we all came down to watch these. But it's known in the culture, Bigfoot exists. But they come in and out of the parallel realms. Yes, and the interdimensional experiences, we can have them. I've had several of them.
I remember a Native American teacher telling me many, many years ago, after I had my own experience with the Bigfoot and another experience with the Copper people, that he said that these people are all, the people of Earth are now searching for their cousins, and that all of the beings that were all related, the Sasquatch, all of the mermaid people, that were all coming together, and that we should be prepared for this great, this great coming together of all the people now.
Well, it's just like with the star people, the different star beings. That's the same thing. We are all related as well in that manner, so that we are connecting again. And it's the memory of ourself during those periods of time as that particular culture living on those other the star planets. When we were, and now we agreed to come here to take, this physical body, to come in as this time.
This great physical, wonderful human form.
Yeah, we're working on the levitating and going through walls.
I'm working on the time travel myself.
And I've certainly had those experiences, moving, time traveling, and levitating and moving out of body and going into the light and various others, These are all signs of the star children, too. They have the experiences of out-of-body, beings of light, little people, the fairy people, and they're very special children, and we have to help them and take care of them. Well, I just want to share this vision because it was so extraordinary, and that I had a vision of the Mother, the Holy Mother Mary. She's appearing all over the world, more so than in the past. She's really appearing quite frequently. And I happened to be and had my eyes closed, and I suddenly saw before me the cosmic realm, the stars, the planets, the whole cosmic system. And I saw something moving very slowly in the cosmic realm, and I'm just looking and watching it with my eyes closed, and suddenly I see that it's the Holy Mother, Mary, and behind her, and I'll use this term because it's exactly what it was a host of angelic beings. And they were moving, floating through the cosmic realm, moving down, 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 and then I heard her say, or the message was, we are coming, and we are bringing light and love and peace. Well, the tears were just rolling down my eyes. I experienced this love. I experienced that frequency of that divine love, but the message was so beautiful. So I just wanted to share that with you and with your audience, because I think we have to remember the beings, the holy ones, the light ones, they are working. They are aligning, and they are sending down that love frequency, that vibration, continually sending it. And it is our purpose, job, whatever you want to call it, to align ourselves with that frequency.
And I know that you work also privately with people. People can call you up and do sessions with you as well.
Yes, they can.
Healing work, spiritual guidance.
That's correct, yes.
And you have several books out, and I must say I love your artwork so much. It is so beautiful. We'll make sure that we get a few shots so that we can show people. People can purchase these books from the Love Now Movement website, and also including the new book,
Right.
About the Star Children.
This is Mending the Hoop, the 4 sacred shields and 12 sacred pathways. That was my first book. It's actually been revised several times. And this is The Return of the Sacred Feminine and the Teachings of the Grandmothers. Yeah.
And so for closing, I know that you have spoken much about the return of the sacred feminine. How do you see it now today? Here we are, 2014. How do we stand?
Well, I think we're pretty good. I think we've got still some way to go, and part of this frequency, this love and this compassion and tenderness is part of that sacred feminine, and the significance of women, coming back to sacred circles is very important, to return to the ways of the grandmothers that we were all once a part of in past lives, and what are we doing here, and the imbalance that things have been between the masculine and the feminine, not only within ourselves, but with our brothers. And to bring that balance between us all back again is for not only individual wellness, but the wellness of the whole, and of certainly the mother. So it's all involving. And we can't continue with this imbalance because we're affecting the Mother Earth. If you can assault a child, if you can assault a woman, it's easy then to assault the forests, assault the waters, to not care. So the voice of the sacred feminine is very, very important. It's important for women to recognize themselves as sacred and recognize their brothers as sacred too. And all that we have been trained to believe in, and the disparity between us is really sort of, that conspiracy, we could say. There's a lot of lies, but we've all been trained to believe we are meant to be something else. We have that expectation of that other person to fulfill us, to be a certain way, and disappointment and discouragement and anger. So all of that is a part of these pieces that keep us out of balance and looking for love in all the wrong places. So I think it's all a combination. It's all connected. It's not separate. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, and thank you so much for this very, very powerful new book. I think it will help many, many people understand who they are, and if you do have children, grandchildren, to also look within your families and to understand that we have these special qualities. That we are surrounded by people with special qualities now, so that we can bring all of Earth to a new 5th dimension of unconditional love. So thank you so much, Grandmother Threecrow. And people can reach Grandmother Threecrow through our website, Love Now Movement. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.